Started out like any other day. Started out about 6:30 in the morning, and then right around between 8:15 and 8:30 is when the events of 9/11 unfolded. It was not until there were several transmissions that were heard on the frequency that gave us the first indication that it was not a catastrophic electrical failure and it was something far worse. There were a series of 3 transmissions that were all relatively close in sequence. The first one, which was really the most critical, was not discerned right away. Right after that, our controller, Pete Zalewski, picked up on what the transmission was. Because he continued to try to talk to American 11, not getting a response, and having heard some type of transmission just prior to that, was listening to what was actively, really intently listening, trying to get information from American 11. And he really is the one that picked up on the fact that the second transmission was of an Arab accent and didn't sound like the pilot, and picked up on that transmission right away, which alerted us to start that chain to process this as a hijack. The first transmission was just as important as the second two, but the first one was the transmission in which he said that we had more planes. Obviously, the hijacker did not realize that that was going out over the ATC frequency. It wasn't until we pulled the tape. Bob Jones went downstairs, pulled the tape for us, listened to it, went back and listened to it twice, because the first time he reported back, he said, we have more planes, as in plural. And at that point, we said, Bobby, please confirm before we send this out, because we knew that we had one hijack and we didn't realize we had more. About 9:03, 9:04 in the morning is when Bobby confirmed that we, in fact, the hijacker had said we had more planes, and unfortunately it was almost simultaneous with United 175 hitting the other tower. And it happened very quickly. In the span of about 15 minutes is when we realized we had a much bigger event than maybe just an aircraft that was hijacked and was going to go and land at Kennedy or Newark and make some demands. One thing that was also important about the event was American 11 passed right under United 175. And when we shipped United 175 is when the events in New York Center started to unfold. My guess was they were listening to the frequency, and they knew when we frequency changed. The weather flow, the winds, to see an aircraft head southbound at 600 knots, somebody was in a hurry. And it wasn't until United 175 hit that second tower did we know that. Plus, in conjunction with the fact that we have more planes, that we had a more significant event. We just wasn't sure where the end was. You know, then we knew we had 3. Then we heard about United 93, so we had 4. Then there was a Delta 1989. We thought we had 5, but that was a false call. You know, at that time, it's almost like the fog of war. So the first call, when we got the call to basically take the aircraft that were in the sky and say, to convey to all the flights that we had to land them was a big task for our controllers. Number one, it's never happened before. Buy-in from the pilots at first, they did not know what's going on. So it was difficult for our controllers to get that point across, which we basically, you know, we had our little meeting up front. Frontline managers went back out into the workforce and said, okay, we got to put these aircraft on the ground. So they were working with the controllers to then tell the pilots, you're going to have to land. We told them, you're not leaving our airspace. You're going to have to pick an airport, get a hold of the company, tell us where you're going to go and where you're going to land. Very difficult for our controllers, and as you can imagine, with the hundreds of flights just in Boston Center alone, what that would take when the other side of the mic has never done this before, has never heard of it, and all of a sudden we're implementing. Incredible feat by our workforce, you know, and you can, when you watch on some of the situational displays, you can see exactly what happened. 300 and 400 flights had to find an airport to land in Canada, which again, for the Canadians, was something that was incredible, because you look at some of the airports like Halifax where they were parking them in the taxiways, and there were absolutely no room for them to land anymore or to put them anywhere because they had so many that they had to land. We had a new normal, and there was no playbook, you know, and we were reacting to trying to make our best guess, you know, estimates as to how we're going to react to each and every individual flight that was out there. You know, 10 years later, sometimes it feels like yesterday, you know, that it occurred, because there are so many images that, you know, are you know, engraved in your mind. 9/11 will always remain close in our heart. Very devastating day for all of us. But our employees did an incredible job. And they're not out there screaming as to such a great job that they did that day. But I'm here to tell you, they did an incredible job under warlike conditions, and they did it with unbelievable precision. I hope we never ever have to do it again, but I know they can handle it.